When that first phone call comes through an LSA ad, Google's recording that phone call. And they're actually using their AI. And what they're looking for is that customer being satisfied by the business? If you, as a business, have a human answering the phone in almost real time, you're separating yourself from a lot of businesses out there.
Google has a bucket full of clients every single day. Google is trying to give them to the person who will take the best care of them.
As a technician, you have to have the language to figure out where to meet that homeowner, where they are in that moment.
We have a special guest for you today. Lorne Sederoff is joining us today. He is our personal LSA provider and more, and an expert in the field, vice president of Search Kings, and a great guy to know exactly what he's talking about to help you get more leads. Excited for this conversation. Welcome here, Lorne.
Thanks for having me, Nate. Brian, appreciate being on with you guys.
Great to see you, my man. Lorne is here. Even though we said maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, we're not doing any more of these freaking marketing episodes, right? We're just like, we're not doing them anymore. But Lorne is here because we got to hang out. Finally, you've been doing our LSA for Ben Franklin and Scottsdale for what, a year now?
Yeah, I think a little over a year for you guys. Yep.
Actually, since we moved into the Scottsdale location, so that's nice. We hit our 1,000 reviews, which you said would help us crank that LSA, and it certainly has. And how long have you been working with Nate's team in Lancaster?
I think a little bit longer than that, maybe 18 months.
Yeah, it's been a minute. We might be up on 2 years, but all good.
Yeah, and the reason we got you on Wiser Wednesday, well, one, because you've helped both of us with our LSA, and that's just one of those Google accounts for the techs who don't know about Google and don't want to know. You're going to learn a little bit today anyway, because it's important to you. And the reason we had Lorne on Wiser Wednesday was, one, Tommy Mello told me Lorne's the smartest guy in the room when it comes to LSA. I believe that helped you guys hire Search Kings in Lancaster, right? Didn't that come out from that conversation? Yeah.
Yep.
And then Mike Vavrick and Nate Minnich, the VPs of operations and sales in Lancaster, told me the same thing after using them for a little bit. So we got them on board, and we found it to be pretty accurate with the conversations we have with people about LSA. I have yet to have a conversation with someone and go, this person knows more than Lorne. So far, so good. The Wiser Wednesday that Lorne did was a hit, not only with the managers and owners who were on the call, but I shoot it out to a bunch of technicians that join every week. And I say, will this make a good Waste No Day episode? And it was 100% yes. And that's fairly rare. And not everybody who does a Wiser Wednesday gets a Waste No Day episode, usually because the techs give the hard thumbs down. So it's a compliment from the technicians that they wanted to hear a Waste No Day episode with a marketing guy. I'm telling you. That's big. That's high praise. So thanks for coming on the show, buddy. And I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I didn't know that the Wiser Wednesday was an audition, but I appreciate knowing that now.
Yeah. So everybody listening who's been on Wiser and never got invited on the show, secret's out, baby. Cat's out of the bag. You didn't pass the tech test, because the average, I would say, on Wiser Wednesdays maybe a little bit higher owner manager, because the majority of the logins is usually between 35 and 100 logins on a Wednesday morning. Most of the logins are teams, right? So the owner and the managers are on that. So we try to skew that for both parties, but I think everybody's going to get a lot out of this. Owners, managers listening, technicians listening, because we did try to skew a heavy portion of the conversation toward how can I, running calls, make sure that I do what I can throughout my day to be busy in the slow season, right? So how am I, as we talked about in the intro, how am I preparing for the shoulder season now during the busy season? I'm sure you have a lot to talk about there, Lorne.
Absolutely. The technician is the lifeline of the company, right? Because the homeowner relationship is literally what sustains recurring revenue and opportunities to get back in that home. The feeling that a homeowner has after a technician is at their house is everything. And so I'm thrilled to be on with you guys, and knowing that the audience is people visiting homes every day. I'm going to try to make sure this is as helpful for all of you as possible.
Yes, that will be much of our goal that we're looking for here, Lorne. And I want to start it off with the idea of, it's 2026 as we're recording this podcast. Search has changed dynamically in the last 5 to 10 years, probably even more so simply in the last 6 to 12 months with the advent of AI in the common man's hands and everything else. So do LSAs even really matter anymore?
Yeah, so just to give the text a little framework, typically LSAs will show up as Google's top of page placement for their ad space. So Google owns the page, they're going to sell advertising. Everyone's willing to pay the same number, let's assume. Okay. So who shows up at the top of the page is really Google has their say on who they want to show. Do they want to show company A or company B? Both companies have a budget and are willing to spend $100 on the lead. So what Google has done is they've essentially created a ranking based on customer satisfaction, and how you feed Google customer satisfaction insights as a company determines how much Google likes you algorithmically. And so Google has essentially two scoring factors that they score a business on customer satisfaction. Okay. Let's assume budget is equal for all companies, because you don't get there unless you pay. But once you start paying and Google has their choice, they want to serve up the company that's going to satisfy the customer to continue to legitimize the ad platform. Because if they serve up a company that is a one truck chuck guy who's just recycling leads, well, people aren't going to click on those ads because they don't trust those companies. So think of the two most important factors that Google can see. Easy to think about. They can see and understand what happens when the phone call comes into the business. So when that first phone call comes through an LSA ad, Google's recording that phone call. And they're actually using their AI, and we've seen this over the they were using it way before AI was publicly available. And what they're looking for is that customer being satisfied by the business. So as a technician, this is outside of your control right now, but you can certainly bring value to your call handling team by talking about things like hold time and AI answering instead of a human. So think about if a customer calls a business and that business puts them through an IVR or a phone tree, right? And the customer's like, my toilet's running. I need to talk to a human. They hang up and they call another company. Well, that first company that they called is going to get a negative ding on their account, a negative score, because the customer hung up on them. If you, as a business, have a human answering the phone in almost real time, you're separating yourself from a lot of businesses out there that are trying to be cost efficient with an IVR. And an IVR is a phone tree. So press 1 for new, press 2 for existing, press 3 to check your bills. So redirecting, what we recommend is you redirect paid ads to a human or an AI directly without it going through a phone tree, to maintain that level of customer service that Google is listening for. Super important is that initial call. The other piece there to think about is that call is recorded. So once that call is recorded, what I would recommend is that the technician yourselves who are going out into the field, you get a recording of that call. So on your way to the home, you listen to the call recording. So you understand the moment that the caller, and let's call the person Pat for the sake of it. If Pat is calling in with a concern, you get to hear the distress in Pat's voice. You know what Pat is going through, and you get to that home understanding Pat's problem. And then but Google doesn't see that part. They see the first phone call, and then this next part is what they see next. And we know where this is going. That 5-star Google review that happens after the visit to the home is closing the feedback loop for Google. So Google knows you paid $100. They know how well you answered the phone and satisfied the customer. And then they need to know when you got to the home, what happened? Did you give the customer 5-star service? Is there a photo? in the review of the work that was done? Is there a description from the customer about the work that was done? Or is it just good job, 5-star review? And what we're seeing now, and these are Google business reviews, that Google is valuing the reviews that have as much detail as possible and not just a rating. So we're doing a lot of coaching of our technicians to get them to take time with the homeowner to write in the review why they're leaving a 5-star review. And that's super important, I think, for this team.
All right, so let's dig into that a little bit farther. When you're talking about the two experiences that Google can view, the first one being the phone call and the second one being for the technician, we'll probably direct most of our focus towards the technician's, the 5-star review piece, simply because most of our listeners are probably not intimately involved in the call taking process. Mm-hmm. But on the 5-star review piece, you're saying that more description, maybe even a picture, is adding what? Adding to Google's value of that review, or to the next potential client reading it and then interpreting it? Like, why does Google value more words, more description, and photos more than 5 stars, great job?
Right. So let's think of it from what Google now has evolved into. Google has evolved into, instead of just a search and answer, it's a learning tool for homeowners, okay, using AI. So let's just bridge where this is going. So Google has a Google Business Profile as the source of truth for all the businesses now. So the address is verified, the business is verified through their Google Business listing. Those reviews are the source for LLMs, which are all these AI platforms, to learn about Benjamin Franklin of Scottsdale. Okay. And so when that review has rich content that's provided by a homeowner, Google values that as truth, as the word of law, shall we say, that these are consecutive days in a row that this company has provided excellent service to these homeowners, and here's what the homeowners are actually saying. What I believe is one of the reasons for this is that there has been so much spam reviews, right? With people buying reviews and getting reviews that are illegitimate. And Google's done a really good job filtering those out over the last year. And you see it online, people panicking, 100 reviews are missing from their account, 25 reviews are missing. Well, there's a good chance that Google cleaned 1 million reviews that day. And yes, some reviews get washed away, right? Some baby with the bathwater. The majority of them are fake and fraudulent reviews. To show that your review is authentic and legitimate is getting the customer to be descriptive. The AI will read that better. They'll see the photos, and it'll also prevent your review from being washed away in the review verification process. Lastly, responding to the review is also super important. And the way we would advise that is, we're so glad that Pat was able to deliver the water heater on time and make sure that it was ready for your family to use by bath time that night. So you again use the words that were part of the service provided, rather than just, we're so glad that you enjoyed our 5-star service. Because these LLMs and AIs are looking for information on the company. And the website information is frankly not that interesting to an AI. What's interesting to an AI is, what did someone say about the company?
So something we've tried to implement, and you tell me how effective it is, because I think we did it as a result of a conversation with you. So photos with the client and the tech in front of the truck, or the client and the tech in front of the work done, and the client to name the specific work we did in the review and name the technician. Do all three of those things count?
I can't tell you for sure. What I can tell you is, what I keep seeing being effective is at least like a photo of the equipment that was repaired or replaced, more so than the humans. I am concerned with privacy, that the human could be flagged as you have a privacy issue. It's the same as the last name of a technician. Google's also terrified of privacy violations. So showing the hot water tank, okay, the old and new or just the new, and talking about how Pat did an excellent job getting it in on time and getting rid of the old one, and we're so happy about that. That's for me is a 10 out of 10. Putting in Pat's last name, I don't want. I think that could get the review removed, and showing people in the review also could potentially flag for some sort of privacy. Google's not going to share their hard and fast rules, but this is what we're seeing. So about 2 months ago, we're here at the end of June. About 3 months ago, the Google experts of the world were blasting no more names in reviews. Okay. And everyone was hearing you shouldn't have technicians' names in reviews anymore because of privacy, and it looks like they're being solicited. What I'm personally seeing, and I obsess over this and look at reviews constantly, is it's the last name that's a hang up, not so much the first name. So, yeah, if you want to be super careful, maybe you just say the technician, but I think showing that it's an authentic review, no problem. Where you might get into trouble is Pat was great. Pat did a good job. Those look like Pat paid the person to write a review for him. And that's what Google's filter is looking for. Solicitation of review.
Well, speaking of that, Lorne, the solicitation piece is interesting because there's multiple ways that people can be directed to leave a review. If you're using a platform like Service Titan, there might be an automated link that is sent to the client. Or I know people have QR codes. In fact, GMB will provide you with a QR code directly to review. Of course, you can manually search and find the GMB page for the business in question, or various other ways of arriving there. Is there any gold standard, or is it all kind of a mixed bag? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so the I would say it really doesn't matter, except review gating is against Google's rules, which is basically, and this is in FSMs or CRMs, and it's in a lot of review request tools, is you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down first as a homeowner. So the technician sends a link and the homeowner says, yes, I liked it, or no, I didn't. And if they say, no, I didn't, they're never directed to Google. They're instead directed to a feedback form where basically you bury the problem, and then a thumbs up gets redirected to Google. That's called review gating, meaning you're preventing the user from leaving a review. That is against Google's rules. You want to give them a link to let the good reviews and the bad reviews all flow in, or in reality and organically, not through a vetting system. As far as beyond that, it doesn't matter whether you gave them a link to the GVP page or the GVP review page, as long as the review does not look like it was a solicitation. And the way to do that is content about why you're leaving the review, right? Why am I giving Pat a review? That's as opposed to Pat did a good job.
In your experience, and I don't know if there's an answer to this question or not, but how does Google see it if Brian sends Nate over to your house today and puts a tankless water heater in for you, and you don't have hot water in the morning to take your shower, and you're upset, and you leave a 1-star review, right? You're just mortified. Drop us a 1-star review. And then Brian comes over himself and gets the thing back up and running, apologizes profusely, and we take care of everything and we leave. And then you take that review down and you put a 5-star in its place. Is Google suspect about that kind of thing? Because that's where companies can get into buying 1-star reviews off.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. What I can tell you is let's go first to the more simple scenario. You get a 1-star review. Let's start there. Handling a 1-star review has a couple different options. If it was a bad actor, okay, you flag that review. It's easy to do. You get your colleague to flag that review. The public can flag reviews as suspicious. And what we find is if you flag the review and you explain why the review is suspicious, such as not our customer, never heard of this person, they're not in our system, former employee, believed to be competitor, whatever that is, do that because you're telling the truth to Google. And then in your response, wait a couple days to see if that review comes down, and then respond to that 1-star review the way you would want. The way I would think about it is you're standing in front of two people at that moment. You're standing in front of the person who left you that 1-star review, and you want to drill them, but you can't because the person standing beside them is your potential next customer. So you have to talk to both people with that 1-star review response. So again, you tell the truth. It turns out I don't see you in our system. Perhaps you left a review for the wrong company. We did have no record of serving you. We take every single customer feedback as seriously as possible, and we always want to make our customers satisfied. Please call us. Here's my phone number. I am the GM of the company, and we will make sure to take care of you. What does that do? It says to the person beside them, oh, they're a stand-up company, and that's a scumbag. Because everyone knows that they're scumbags leaving 1-star reviews. The change.
Everybody knows Yelp.
Right. The change the review from 1 to 5, I don't think there's any problem with that from Google's side. The customer's experience has changed, and they've updated their review. I had a bad haircut, then I had a good haircut. I'm changing my review. That's a behavior that would be, appropriate.
So let's say, and this does obviously happen. Let's say a bad actor, ex-employee, competitor leaves a review. I've always felt like answering that review legitimizes it. Is that not the case in Google's eyes?
No, you got to think about what the next person's going to read. So, like,
I meant
search
for
Kings.
Google more than for the next client.
Oh, you mean for Google? Yeah, no.
If I flag it, should I not respond to it?
What I would typically do is I would flag with 1, 2, or 3 people that are on the team that can confirm that this is fake, right? Like your inner circle, your leadership team, whatever. And then I wait 24 hours, 48 hours. If it's still there, I would flag again, but then I would leave a response because I want the next customer to see that we care enough to leave a response. We're not hiding from this review, and go get 3 reviews now. Like that's where you put a note out to your field, to the technicians to say, hey guys, can someone get us a review now? Get us a review with a photo, even better, because those rank even higher. So like, can we bury this person's nefarious activity with proper reviews? And then if you got 10 reviews in 3 days, you don't even worry so much about that 1-star when it, hopefully it gets removed by Google, but you've shown the next customer, yeah, there was one dirtbag. Here's 10 people who are actually satisfied.
Yeah. Now, listen, guys, that doesn't mean everyone who you do a bad job for and piss off, you start flagging the reviews because you just don't want any 1-star reviews. This is ones that you legitimately think are not your client and are just up to no good. Let's not wreck the flagging system by flagging everyone that we genuinely made mad because we were late to the call and nobody ever called them and told them. And then the tech had an attitude with the client. Like that's not fun to flag. Just take care of the client.
The idea that you're going to trick Google is really short-sighted. Do a good job. Tell the truth. Realize when there's bad actors that you respond in a way that says that's a bad actor. Like this is the evidence we have as a business. And pile on more good reviews, which is compliant, right?
Yeah. And this is super important anyway, because the thing to remember, to put it even, I don't know, in more layman's terms than Lorne already did, is Google has a bucket full of clients every single day. And they consider those Google's clients. They're not my clients, Nate's clients, your clients. They're Google's clients. Google is trying to give them to the person who will take the best care of them. The client's spending the same amount of money with Google, which is essentially zero, right? Except giving up their information, then I'm sure Google's going to go sell somewhere else. But we're paying, the companies are paying Google, right? And Google is going to take the money from and give the client to the person that they think will take the best care of that client, so they don't start using Yelp or one of the other ChatGPT or another competitor. So your job is to get to be the team in your area that has the highest rating, 5-star, 4.9, 4.8, and averages the most reviews on Google calls. So you are desperate to get your client to leave a review if that call came from Google. Even if it didn't, it still counts but I think we need to be even more mindful when that client actually comes from Google, that we want Google to know that we did a 5-star job for that client. So that's how we have to look at this.
And there's all sorts of ways that I've seen to keep staff motivated, to keep teams motivated to go get reviews. And I think that's, what strong leader technicians do in companies is they go and they talk to the GMs or the VPs or the owners about review contests or review, collaborative events that, if we get 10 reviews in the next week, we're having a barbecue. The leader of the review count. And it's someone's job to gamify it and keep that gamification shifting and alive. I've done 100 calls with owners. We plan a gamification because we want them to generate more reviews. We want their LSA popping. We want their leads coming in. And we brainstorm a gamification, and it's a dartboard, let's say. And everyone who gets a review with their name on it, I'll just use this one as an example. Anyone who gets a review with their name in it, in that month, they get one throw of the dart at the dartboard. Okay. So some people have 3 darts, some people have 5 darts, some people have 10 darts. And then at the next staff meeting at the end of June, you throw your darts at the board. And whatever number you hit on the dartboard, that's how much cash you get per dart. Right. And so that's an individual style. Well, I speak to that same owner 3 months later, and they're like, it didn't stick. So what I would say is it's leadership on the part of technicians and the GMs to come up with new gamifications and stick with them. So it's not that when the owner gets busy, bored, or goes on vacation, that the motivation for reviews dies. You have to maintain that thing going every month, every year, for you to separate yourself, because otherwise your competition is doing something this month that has them ranking higher than you. And so tons of those ideas I'm sure you can collaborate on, but we just did
Putt Shack for finally getting over 1,000 reviews for our Lancaster location. And Volca AI, just want to give a shout out to Brendan from Volca, because it was like we had to get there before the end of April 2026. And if we did, we were going to Putt Shack. Brendan from Volca found out about it and said, I'm paying if you guys make it. So shout out to Volca. But yeah, so we had a nice time at Putt Shack. So getting the numbers like that and saying, here's a metric that if we hit this number, then X is a good way to get the whole team on board. Some more than others, like just Brad and Eddie, 2 of our plumbers, got 400 of the reviews themselves between the 2 of them in that year. Brad got 250 and Ed got like 240 or something like, and named. I mean, they even got their first name in the reviews. So some guys are going to take it insanely seriously, and some guys are going to get the low hanging fruit where the lady's asking if there's anything she can do for you on the way out, because you just made such an impression. You're like, hey, you could write me a review, we could get a pick together. But having that team effort where if Brian, Nate, and Lorne are trying to hit this contest and I'm getting 3 reviews a day and Lorne's getting 1 and Nate hasn't gotten 1 in 2 weeks, Brian and Lorne are going to have a conversation with Nate in the parking lot. Nate might not like the outcome of that conversation. Nate's going in the trash dumpster, right? No, it's just to say, like, come on, bro. Like, we're pulling all the weight for this thing. We want to go to the shooting range or Putt Shack or, Top Golf or whatever you do in your area, or smoke some meat in the parking lot or whatever. And you're not pulling your weight. So it's a good way to get everybody on board. But I'll say it's not just the tech and the GM. It's the service manager. The dispatcher plays a very heavy part in this, because if he is or she is constantly saying, bro, where's my review from that last one? Right? Everybody can see it pop up on Google in real time. And I like a dispatcher having a screen up that's just the Google page at all time. And Daryl seeing how many Google reviews populate today. I'm looking right now. We crushed it today in revenue, but we didn't get a single review on a Monday. I'm like, now I'm getting ready to text the team. Not today, guys. We're doing this episode today, for crying out loud. Come on.
Well, Lauren, that's another conversation I wanted to have with you, which is more important, 5 stars or volume of reviews?
Yeah, interesting. So first, most important is frequency of reviews. So if you can get a review every day, let's say you're a company that gets 10 reviews a month. Okay, that's your average. You want to spread those out every third day, ideally. What you don't want is your system sending out the review requests all on the 28th day of the month and you get all 10 reviews on the same day. That's the worst case scenario. What you want, what Google wants to see, and let's go back to the phone call came in from an ad. Google recorded it. They know what happened. They see you satisfying a customer on Tuesday. You satisfied another customer on Wednesday, another customer on Thursday. If you're a bigger company and you get 50 reviews a month, ideally you're getting them on 25 different days and you're getting 2 each day, that kind of thing. So that's most important. I haven't seen the drop on rating as long as you stay at 4.6, 4.7 plus. Okay, anything below 4.7, 4.6, depending on the market. So more competitive market, 4.7 plus, less competitive market, 4.6 are sort of where I would be comfortable. Anything below there, you got a trust problem, both from Google and from customer choice, right? Because the customer is still looking, they're not looking for long. It's a very straightforward platform. It's call or schedule or message, but they're going to see a 4.5 and be like, I may as well keep scrolling one more. I mean, it doesn't take much energy to scroll your thumb one more time, right? So that's how I
And
think
that,
with that.
like, kind of translating the Googleese of, what they see back to what the technicians would understand. Why does it need spread out? Like, what would getting 28 reviews on the 30th of the month mean that's different than getting 2 every day?
Because think about Google's algorithm working every day. So when Google looks back at yesterday, they're looking at which companies in Scottsdale satisfied customers yesterday. I should put them on the page at the top today. Because if they satisfied someone yesterday, they're probably going to satisfy someone today. Whereas if Lancaster had a great day on the 28th day of the month, they satisfied 10 customers. The rest of the month, Google doesn't know if you satisfied any customers. So they're going to start to delist you, right? And all of this is a function of how much money it costs to generate a lead. The goal here is that you pay less to acquire customers, right? And therefore you can acquire more customers. And that comes down to realizing the Google business profile, the map listing, the source of truth for Google is free leads. The more robust that is, the better your LSA performs, the better chance you have of converting customers. So no matter how they hear about a business, the Google business listing is the core of what Google is reading and evaluating. I can tell you what we do now, with AI, you basically think, hey, what do I want to learn? And then you figure out who can help you build that. And there's build or buy in the world of AI now, right? You can spend the time building something, or you can buy it out of the box and hope that they keep updating it and what you're paying for is worth it. A simple example like that is we were getting feedback from our customers. They wanted to know how their competition was doing. So you build an AI that basically says, okay, this is my customer. Who are their top 20 competitors in their market? And how many reviews did they get each month, right? It's something a human could do, and it would take a human probably 4 hours a month. A bot can do it in 85 seconds, right? And now on your board, you have your review count, and someone knows how many reviews your competitors are getting, right, in the office, just to keep score. And most customers I work with want to keep score. They want to know how they're doing compared to their competition.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, speaking of AI, Lauren, obviously Google has invested an ungodly amount of money into AI and Gemini. There's competitors in that area, with ChatGPT and Claude, and the list goes on. How is all of that diversity of search impacting LSAs specifically? Is there anything technicians can do? I know techs are coming across this live in the field where somebody's using an AI right there to like price check them or like, confirm or doubt the solution they're providing. So what does all that mean when it gets mixed up into the reality of what a technician sees and does on a daily basis?
I mean, it's so complex because what you're seeing now is it's not furnace repair near me as the search. It's the furnace is blowing cold air. Here's a picture of my unit, and people are trying to do it yourself, right? As much as they can until the AI says you might want to call someone, right? And so we're seeing that journey and we're talking to our customers about that journey where homeowners taking that much further to the point where they now know this is probably a capacitor, okay? Or this is a venting issue, let's say, or it's the pilot light. And now the technician shows up and their diagnostic likely leads them to the same conclusion. Okay. So there's some issues around, well, how do you show up on AI? So let's have that conversation. So when the customer gets to the spot and you could end up doing it yourself, you're gonna paint your house. You show the pictures. You say, what are the steps? What are the equipment I need? These are the things. And then at some point, the AI will recommend professionals in the community that can do this for you, right? Because they're putting ads now in ChatGPT and they're putting ads in Gemini. Okay. And we knew this was coming because they're, as you said, Nate, an ungodly amount of money as an investment. Well, these are public or about to be public companies. They have to be profitable. So where does the profit come from? It comes from subscriptions for paid AI, which we're using and testing. And then it also comes from the advertising. So like as of this month, June, ChatGPT now has you're trying to fix your own furnace. And then by the end of your conversation, and it's usually after 3 queries, that's what we're seeing right now, 3 back and forths between homeowner and AI about their problem. The AI will say, would you like us to recommend a company for you? And that's where you put an ad. Okay. And so we're doing that. We have 120 customers right now on our wait list to get ChatGPT ads out. What's going to be the outcome of it? We're watching. It's too early to know because are the humans going to interact with ads inside AI? That is going to be different because everyone's been taking this drug now since 2022 for free. No ads.
Right.
And now ChatGPT has ads, and now Gemini is using AI ads. So that's the first one. The next one is if the technician gets there and the homeowner is saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure you just need to go do this for me. That shouldn't take very long, right? Then you have either a very educated homeowner or a confused homeowner. But as a technician, you have to have the language to figure out where to meet that homeowner, where they are in that moment, and take what they've told you as early as possible in the conversation. You don't want to do a complete diagnostic and then have them say, oh, I already knew that and this and that. Talk to them when you get there. So how did you know you had a problem? Do you have any insight into what caused this or anything, right? And it could be that they stuffed a sock in the toilet, right? And they tell you that, or it could be that they've done their research on it. But what you want to be able to do as a technician is talk to the homeowner to develop that rapport. So you pull out of them, what do they think it is already? So that you're not wasting your time there. But assume they've done their research now.
Of course. Now, flipping to the other side of things, obviously AI is being used very frequently in businesses of all shapes and sizes. And I know that we're certainly using it in ours, and I know Brian's using it in his. What does it look like on the administrative side to use AI to respond to reviews or to interact with the GMB in some way? Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Is Google promoting that? They don't like it. What do you think?
I think that's the Google business profile as a lifeline for a business. There's not that many things from a marketing side more important than a Google business listing. I would have a human responding to reviews. I would have an AI helping a human on a side screen, call it, but I would have a human be inserting those reviews. I've been introduced to at least 100 platforms that tell me, let us just do the review response for your clients, and we'll give you Search Kings, like the whatever it is as compensation for that. It's best when a human reads the review and responds to that review. And you can use AI to generate your response, but I would not have the AI feeding into that response. I think that it's best for a human to respond. I believe it's the same as answering the phones. The AI, you are like every other company in the market if you have an AI answering your phones for you. And I get that it saves you money, but from an ad, you have one chance to make a first impression, and the click to the website could have cost $30. So that could be a $300 lead, right? Are you going to then decide you want to cut corners on the AI answering that lead? I don't. I'm okay with AI answering existing customers. So press 1 if you're existing. I'm okay with that going to an AI. They're already your customer. They just want to be efficient. They need their bill, right? They need a copy of their bill. They need to reschedule their appointment. If they have a problem, they can talk to someone. Brand new, they're going to hang up and call someone else, either for sure after they speak to you or because they spoke to an AI, right? So I want a human. I think that's what separates the winners in 2026 is those who don't rush to save money on the human interaction at the beginning of the conversation. I'm okay with it. Like, I even envision it taking over until the technician gets there. Human shows empathy. Human sets the schedule. Or the human says, we're going to send you a text and we're going to schedule from there. But at least the first moment of crisis was handled by a human. And then I'm okay with text the whole way through. Texting fine. Human gets to the house. Human solves the problem. Human gets the 5-star review. Texting for everything else after that, I'm fine with.
Now, pivoting from that a little bit, Lorne, and going back to responding to the reviews, you and Brian were dialoguing about how we can have bad actors or former disgruntled employees and those types of things, competitors, whatever. But we all know that sometimes our business just falls short of the expectation that we hope to deliver in the marketplace. And sometimes a genuine 1-star review comes through. What is the best strategy to respond to that? Do we need to do it quickly? Do we need to write a in-depth paragraph? Is it okay to start name calling? Like, what's the kind of the best way to handle the 1-star reviews?
It's Nate's answer to everything.
So let's assume it's legitimate. Okay. Technician was running late and they couldn't get there and you canceled the appointment. Let's just say that one. Or technician was having a bad day. They got there. They didn't have the right equipment. They had to leave. If it's legitimate, I think that the review response needs to be open and completely transparent to say, we didn't do our best on this day. And normally this is what we expect from our company. And as the head of the team, I take responsibility for that. And we really want to try to make it up to you. My number is this directly. You can reach me and I'll be trying to reach out to you as well, but own it so that when customers go and read that, they're like, okay, they at least owned it. They're not dodged. There's nothing worse than, avoiding your responsibility. And I think we teach that to kids, right? At the very beginning, it's okay. You made a mistake. Just own it. It's the same thing here. But before that, I might call them and own it on a phone call with the customer as the head of the company, the GM, whoever, to say, I just want to let you know we're really disappointed. I'm going to take responsibility for this. Pat, the technician, was running late because he had to take care of someone's house that, was an emergency, and I sent him there. So the GM takes responsibility for it. And hopefully that customer says, okay, thank you so much, and then you try to satisfy them and they change their review, but own the review. I think if you look at a good company, go to their 1-star reviews, sort to the lowest, and read how they respond. And you'll learn about taking responsibility, because that also speaks to the credibility of a company, right? Like, it didn't work, or we knew it was going to take this amount of time, but you didn't have that window. Like, explain yourself.
Does anybody do anything but go right to the 1-star review, or is that just me? I'm just immediately, that's how I check a company out. What do your 1-stars look like, and what is your response to them?
100%. The response is key. Like, I'll give you an example of a recent one for us. Okay, so Search Kings manages the lead generation for about 80% of our businesses are home service companies in the US. So, we know the industry. The customer on pay-per-click could pay $30, $40, $50 a lead at the beginning. A click. Leads could start out at $500. And then with our expectation is we teach Google that lead should get down to a lower number. Starts higher, eventually hits a cruise control. Okay, that's why they're hiring us. For us to do that, it's going to take about 3 months of learning inside the algorithm, right? And so we tell the customer, we're month to month, we're not putting in a contract, but there's a gentleman's agreement here. It's going to take X number of months for this to deliver. The customer cancels after 6 weeks. They just didn't have the stomach for it. Fair. They canceled after 6 weeks. They didn't have the stomach for it, and then suggested that we didn't fulfill our responsibilities. So go to our 1 stars and you can see this kind of thing. Well, we have to respond to that with, we told you this is going to take time. There's 3 months of learning algorithmically to teach the machine. Unfortunately, you stopped after 6 weeks. We totally respect that. But it wasn't what we anticipated being this partnership, right? So it's kind of like, we told you so.
Yeah. Now, that's a great way to stand out, Lorne, certainly in how you're responding. And to Brian's point, a lot of us, I believe, do go to the 1 stars to see what that looks like. But earlier in the episode, you talked about how, let's just say, everybody has the same budget and they're willing to pay the same thing. So we start getting into this like, well, every company is the same, or at least appears the same. What are some other ways of standing out, whether it is, I don't know, in the pictures or the words that we use, or is there certain strategies, or, is there a difference between standing out to a consumer and standing out to Google, or is that the same thing synonymously? What's your perspective on making yourself different in the marketplace when in our industry, there's many, many competitors?
Yeah, I think the first one is the promotions that you as a team are willing to offer, right? Because promotions can allow you to differentiate yourself, it's not necessarily a dispatch fee. It's about a warranty. It's about reliability. It's about, years in business. It's about same day service. Those kind of things are super important for ad copy, because with an ad, you get to shout something out, right? And that's what you want to be able to shout out. It's what you want to be able to put on your truck. It's what you want them to see on your invoice, right? That you are the reliable company. If you put a yard sign on their lawn, it's there. So you want to have this trust factor and really drive that home. I think the other way to stand out is to think about how many we talk about this definitely with Brian's team in Scottsdale, is let's identify the zip codes that we actually want to stand out in, because we can't stand out in all of Phoenix, right? It's just not going to be we don't have endless zeros on the end of the budget, right? So instead, we got to say, here are the 5 zip codes that we really want to stand out in. And then how do we penetrate those 5 zip codes with branding, with trucks on streets, with connected TV, so people are streaming. They're watching a baseball game and they're seeing an ad for Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. Right? Like, who's doing that? Right? They're expecting to see national brands on commercials, and we're going to hit them with a Scottsdale special. Right? Like that, with the truck, with a door hanger, by really focusing on the fewest number of zip codes at a time, and saying, this is, we're Scottsdale's choice since this time. And again, with the AI, what we built was a competitor analysis. So we know our customers' competitors' promotions, because think about it. It doesn't take long to scan the internet for everything you could find on ABC Heating. What are all the things that they want to be known for? And now you can start to sell against them.
Okay, well, let's have that conversation. Let's say that I am a one-man band, and I'm like, oh, my leads are getting pretty thin here, and I think I have tapped every shoulder that I know. I need to step into some level of what you're talking about here. How can I, as a guy with a very limited budget, even compete when there's, companies 300 times my size in my area?
Yeah, so now you're talking about a guy who's doing everything, right? For the most part. This
Sure.
is a technician who's also paying the bills, right?
Probably answering the phones too.
Yeah, and answering the phones. So What's the upside of that person? The advantage that person has is when they answer the phone, they're hungry as heck, right? Or they better be. So they can answer on the second ring. There's no AI. It is Johnny answering the phone, and Johnny knows exactly what time he can get there at, right? So speed to lead, I don't mind Johnny. I'm betting on him in that respect. The problem Johnny has is frequency of reviews. So he has to desperately acquire reviews at 80% of the houses that he's at. And it starts from the minute he gets there with, I'm going to do everything I can today, ma'am, to help you out. By the way, I'm hoping this is 5-star service, right? The cheesiest, most obvious way to start the conversation is, this is what I'm going to do for you. Did I do that at the end of the call? Fine. Now you get into, well, how are they going to appear on Google, right? Because you have Google Maps, then they can get their reviews, and that's fine. LSAs, they're not going to be able to perform on. I'm not an LSA magician. I just know a lot about it because of all the customers we have, and we can learn from that. What I know is if you have 22 reviews and you're in a big market, you're no one to Google. So now you can do pay-per-click. The problem next, and that's our core business, is you could be paying $50 a click. Okay? You can't do that as a one-man band. You can't compete with the big companies. You can't compete with the private equities. So you can't show up at the top of Google. So now you can do a mail drop. You can do yard signs. What we have found is you take a website visitor. So someone came to your website for some reason. Okay? Whatever that reason was, you got them somehow. For about 2.5 cents, you can stream a TV commercial to them. Okay. And so you're not streaming it to everyone in the market. You're streaming it only to people who have some affiliation to you. And now you start branding and becoming well known in a tiny little area. Either people who've been to your site or people who've been to your site plus one zip code, right? Spend $30 a day, $40 a day. If a click costs $50, I'm, in my opinion, going and spending $50 and getting 3,000 commercials for that. That's basically the math, right? So if I'm small and we do this now, it's okay, let's just go spend money on one zip code. Let's spend $40 a day. Let's get you 2,800 or something commercials and let people call you organically because you don't have ad spend.
Lorne, are we doing that?
You are doing that. So what you missed it, I think. What you
nice
were
job,
doing,
Kyle.
What Kyle did with Nelson on our team, which was super smart, is we said we can't target everyone. We have to go after the affluent zips. And so we're revealing what your strategy is, which I think is bang on. Let's go after the prime territory and maximize our exposure to them because they're not going to fight ticket price. They're going to go with quality. And so we run campaigns based on that in certain markets.
So we're in Tommy's.
And I think for a small guy, it makes sense too, because you can't go give Google $50 a click, right? You just can't. But you can buy 2,500 commercials for that same price.
So flip that around, Lorne. You know, we have 100 technicians at my company or Brian's company, Fred's company.
Yep.
What advantage does the big guy have in terms of what you're talking about?
So now the more website visitors, so like a technician's call to action, in my opinion, in the field, get the 5-star service done, sell them the right products that they're going to need and tell their friends that they got the job done well, right? Because the whole point here is that they tell someone and they put your name and their phone number in their phones. Get them to leave you a review and get them to click on your website. If they come to your website, okay, and back in the day, Search Kings, it would be the first step of a sales call. Someone would call us. We'd be like, oh, thanks for calling us. By the way, do you mind just going to searchkings.com for a second? Okay, great. Thanks so much. And they'd be like, huh? And you'd be like, thank you. Very good. We got to follow you now. And now they would see ads, right? And we don't need to sell them on our services. They're going to see, wow, Search Kings is everywhere. I want to be everywhere. Same concept. But you do it with Google, YouTube, streaming TV off of that website visit. So a technician getting a website visit is also helpful to the company. And a small guy or a big guy, the big guy can target a bigger market. He can get more aggressive. He can decide, you know what, I want to buy the sports pack, rather than just general inventory, create a sports commercial, right? With AI now, you can create commercials that are themed for almost nothing, like nothing, right? And now you have a baseball themed commercial, and now you can buy the baseball pack. It's going to be more expensive, but you're a bigger company and you're willing to pay $50 a click on Google. You'll pay 3 cents a commercial, right? Instead of 2 cents. That's all we're talking about here. It's pennies per commercial view. That's how I would approach it as the big guy.
I feel like this is a great time to tell people how to get a hold of you, because this is, at least the owners, managers listening right now are like, how do I get signed up for this? So how does somebody get a hold of you or get a hold of Search Kings if they want to get more info on this?
Yeah, well, it's sort of a two-way street with us because we need to know who we're working with, because it's got to be a good fit. Like, you know what it's like. If you have people with unrealistic expectations, or they want the world to always play in their favor on day 1 through day 60, we want to have a conversation to make sure that expectations are aligned. They can reach out to you guys. I'm sure that everyone, has a way of getting hold of you, and you can, send us an email together and say, hey, we know these guys, they're great. Introduce them. They can reach out to me. They can come to Search King's website and just say, I want to talk to Lorne about with the Waste No Day guys. It's just, let's align on what's realistic. I'm not here to tell you that we have figured out that we can get Google to be way cheaper than everyone else, or that we have streaming TV that's going to solve all your problems, or LSA is going to go through the roof. We got to make sure that like everything we talked about in the first part, those reviews got to be humming. You got to answer your phones properly. And sometimes people will call and they'll say, okay, yeah, we'll get to that later. First, make my phone ring a lot. And I'm like, kind of wish I vetted this one before I brought them internally, because we have about 80 customer facing employees, right? And you guys both work with Nelson. He's amazing. But, I can't go put our account managers with someone who's going to have unrealistic expectations. That's not fair of me. So I'll do some gatekeeping, shall we say, at Search Kings. Just mention Lorne, and I'll follow up with you guys.
Yeah, and you can hit us up, shoot us a text anytime, 279-2-CLOSER. And we've redesigned the Waste No Day website. It is up, running, beautiful. All information on us and a way to get a hold of us, wastenoday.com.
Well, Lorne, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure we can continue to nerd out for a while, but again, our main listening audience is technicians, so I think we covered most of the basics for them. And that is, just in summary, make sure that you are delivering a level 5-star service to the client, and then go get that review. Ask the client to be descriptive in what they're talking about. Ask them to post a picture of the beautiful work that you just did. That is the best way that you as a technician can have impact on your recurring opportunity to serve that client again and many more like them. Is that what you would agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think the other piece is that you guys, as the technicians, are the heart of the company. You see the customers. So share your feedback with your owners and your managers, because, if you see trucks on the road that are another company that no one's heard of, well, you want to know what they're up to. Are they new in town? Are they, someone should visit their website and see what they're offering. And so it might not be your job as a technician to evaluate your competition, but bring that up to someone whose job it is to know what's happening in the market. And, that's part of our tool set. Is we want to know who your competition is. We want to know what they're up to help you have an advantage. But it's always good when a technician's bringing forth, what they're seeing in the field. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Great conversation, Lorne. Appreciate you sticking it out with us and having great conversation about Google. To some of us, it's like this imaginary world that doesn't have any rules or make sense, but you've done a great job of helping us identify some of the things that do make sense and have real world impact. So appreciate the conversation, and of course, personally, all the work that you've done for our businesses as well.
Thanks, guys. It is a pleasure working with you guys. You guys are realistic and aggressive. It's like a perfect combination, right? Like, foot on the pedal, I love. Like, that's what we want to do. But it's going to have its, bumps along the road, and we figure it out. And you guys have been great to work with too. So thanks so much.
Lorne, let me ask you one last question. I'm going to try not to swear here or get myself kicked off Google. Why don't they share their rules, for crying out loud? What is that?
Great. I was at the Google office. Okay. and I am buzzing and trying to understand why Search Kings reviews were removed. Okay? There was a whole bunch of them removed. And our customers' reviews are removed. And there's nothing I would like more than a policy to explain why Nate's reviews, he used to have X, now he has X minus 15. I want to know why those 15 were removed, right? Exact same as you. Mm-hmm. Here's the realistic expectation is if you do the right thing, okay, Google's machine will know that over time for the most part. If you're doing the wrong thing, they'll catch it eventually over time. They're not going to give out the playbook so that people can skirt around it or manipulate it. Mm. But instead, what they're going to do, and when they did this with the reviews, when they wipe out and the SEO and Google world gets flipped out, there's a new algorithm, there's an update. All they're doing is they're wiping out a massive amount of reviews that they think are nefarious, and they're taking out a few good ones with it. And they've basically stood and said, we're going to get some wrong, but 98% of what we're doing is correct. Those were fake reviews. It was the first time someone ever left a review, and it was left within a minute of opening up a Google account, right? So someone opened up a Google account and left a review right away. And back in like 2018, when we started collecting reviews, we were having our customers open up Google accounts. They didn't have Google accounts, and then they were leaving a review, and those reviews were getting flagged, and we didn't understand why. So they're not going to tell us the playbook on that, because then bad actors will take advantage of that.
That's the best answer I've ever heard to that question, buddy. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. It's always going to be the truth. Well, it's just not always going to be perfect.
Yeah, or fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Hope that you did enjoy your time with Lorne. He is a great dude and is super hardworking at what he does. And I believe that he showed that with also his expertise in today's episode. If you did enjoy it, share this episode around. If you'd like to get in connection with him, of course, you can reach out to Brian or myself, or you can just go to Search Kings website as well and find it there. But they are a great provider and a great partner that has been working with both Brian and I for a while, and we're super excited to have him on the show to share that expertise. We're going to leave you now with our weekly challenge, which continues to be the same: to choose to wake up each and every morning and waste no day.